welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney, or quote Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it. Legends. If you can hear what's going on in the background, I apologize. Nothing I can do about it. But today I have for you the next 3 books in the Jedi Apprentice series, which focuses on Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. This is books 4, 5, and 6. But before we get to that, we have to head over to Star Wars Tales number 14. And here, if you want to torture yourself, you would read mythology. Terrible, disgusting little short in the Tales series. What is it about? It is a folklore, little children's story within the universe, I guess, that Qui-Gon decides to tell Obi-Wan about. The art looks like garbage. The story itself is forgettable and garbage. And even Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's relationship is not how it should be. It feels different. Qui-Gon's saying stuff that it doesn't sound like Qui-Gon would say. Even contradicting, not even talking about the EU, just the movies. It doesn't sound like Qui-Gon. And it's just horrible. But if you wanted to read it, this is where chronologically you would. But if I were you, I would skip it. It will add nothing to anything, and it's just going to waste a couple minutes of your life that you will never have back. You could have used that couple minutes to read a couple pages of a better book, like the Jedi Apprentice series. So that's what I recommend. But you do you. Sorry, I disliked that one a lot. It was so stupid. Anyway, book 4, Mark of the Crown. Basically, in this one, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are on this planet. A lot of political intrigue, think like House of Cards, Game of Thrones, Dune. I'll be reading that soon, by the way. But yeah, you can probably hear my brother's loud TV. I apologize. But it was a really good self-contained little story. I enjoyed it. Of course, there's character growth for Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, so that's really interesting. And I don't really want to tell you anything about spoilers, so that's about it for that book. Book 5 and book 6 are kind of a continuing storyline. They're together, but we start with book 5, which is Defenders of the Dead. This one, it's on a war-torn planet. These two factions have been fighting each other for decades upon decades, and they don't even remember why they're fighting anymore. They're just filled with hate. But you also find about this separate sub-faction, which is filled with a lot of the younger kids and teenagers and young adults who don't agree with this constant fighting, and they want peace. And this 2-parter is actually a really interesting story. Of course, I'm here for Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. That's the main thing. And there's no Xanatos or anything in these stories that I've mentioned. But it's really cool to... Or, I scratched that. And I think in Mark of the Crown... Sorry if you can hear that. Frick. So many things going wrong today. With Mark of the Crown, there's a bad guy in there or something, and he's being funded by the organization that Xanatos runs. But other than that, he's not in it. But this story, is kind of also self-contained, but it's also a big character growth or character development, not necessarily growth, for Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is actually really cool. Of course, we know that he will be a Jedi, but the end of the book might surprise you. And then we get to book 6, The Uncertain Path, and there's some weird things going on at the temple, because by the end of the last book, Obi-Wan didn't join Qui-Gon leaving the planet, is all I'll say. Things did not get resolved. Obi-Wan stayed while Qui-Gon left. So Qui-Gon's investigating things at the Jedi Temple because there's some weird shenanigans going on, while Obi-Wan continues to try to help this war-torn, now at peace planet. And things do not go well. But it is a really, really good story, and I really enjoy this 2-parter. And I think it's really worth your time. And it's got some really interesting character moments for all the characters. But that's pretty much all I want to say non-spoiler wise, I guess. I don't know what else to talk about other than non-spoiler wise. But that's about the gist. I mean, obviously we're 6 books in, but I really recommend that you either pay the large amount of money that it is for this series that you can find online, or find it, illegally, like I did, which I wouldn't usually recommend, but it's so hard to get a copy of these. Or at least unless you want to be spending a little bit, because these were Scholastic books, so it's hard to find copies around for cheap. But yeah, I'm gonna get into spoilers now. If you don't want spoilers, time for you to go. If you're a veteran or you just don't care about spoilers, join me. It's only book 4. I only have like 2 notes. I said I love how Obi-Wan wants to follow the rules, but not Qui-Gon. You get to the end, you're in the book, and the royalty of this planet doesn't want them to leave. And so Qui-Gon promises not to leave, and then he does. And Obi-Wan's like, what are you doing? Like, they said we have to stay. And I just love that, like, opposite dynamic. You have the master who's, doing that. Whereas with Obi-Wan and Anakin, it's often Anakin who does that. So it's just like a little parallel. And that's pretty much all I wrote, I think. But also, I found all the new characters for this book pretty enjoyable. And I enjoyed trying to figure out who done it sort of thing that was going on with it. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Book 5, The Defenders of the Dead. It starts off with, we learn that Tal, if you don't remember Tal, she has like the orange, like complete eyes, like how Thrawn has the pure red. She has like pure like orange or whatever. And she was in the Dark Side comic that I talked about. But she's been kidnapped, and so that's originally why they go to the planet, because Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan have been sent to save her. But this whole society is blinded by hate, at least the 2 factions that we meet to begin with, because they don't even remember why they're actually fighting each other anymore. They're just so filled with anger and hate over the constant death and destruction that they continue this needless, endless war. It's interesting here that we have Obi-Wan being a rebel in this book, which, we know that Anakin will do that often. So it's interesting seeing him being a bit like Anakin here, because he decides to just straight up go behind Qui-Gon's back and do some things. And of course that Qui-Gon's going to feel betrayed when he finds out. So by the very end of it, Obi-Wan says, I don't want to be a Jedi anymore. I want to stay with this path and with this fight. And so Qui-Gon... I'm sorry about that again. I hate doing these on my phone. Qui-Gon leaves, Obi-Wan stays. Book 6. Qui-Gon and Yoda have a discussion early on in the book, which I really enjoyed. And later on, Obi-Wan gets taken away from the government because he's an outsider, and lots of tension, hostilities, just like all around. Meanwhile, Qui-Gon's trying to figure out who's trashing the temple, who's stealing things. And so that's an interesting little plot that will get resolved in the next 2 books. And then Lazari's, I don't remember how to say her name, but Obi-Wan's friend gets shot, which just sparks more war. Of course, it turns out to be a plot by somebody else, and it gets stopped, and things are peacefully resolved. But by the end of it, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are still kind of together, but they're not master and apprentice at this moment, and there's still a lot of hostility between them, which will be interesting to see how that gets resolved. But yeah, that's pretty much it. These were an enjoyable 3 books. I'm probably going to read like at least 4 next time that I do these, so I have more to talk about. But I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, give a thumbs up, share episode a ton. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, may the Force be with you.